Next up, we've reached that point in the year where it's time to assess how you'll approach the upcoming planting season. 2019 came with its own set of challenges, and while some of the challenges lay firmly in the past, there are still many pest and crop diseases to be mindful of. This week, Market Journal's Bill Dodd is taking a look at developing research into soybean gall midge and crop diseases that producers should be looking to head off before planting begins. Bill, what have you got for us this week?
Thanks, Troy. You're absolutely right. 2019 hit many producers with a number of challenges. Now, two challenges that probably won't go away anytime soon are pests and crop disease. Now, one pest that gave headaches to both producers and researchers alike last season was the soybean gall midge. During the last growing season, there were 86 counties spread over 5 states that had documented infestations of soybean gall midge. While researchers didn't have a specific number for the amount of producers affected by this pest, UNL crop protection and cropping system specialist Dr. Justin McMechan says that further research into the pest has provided good data showing that the number of infestations didn't seem to be dropping. However, the damage done by the pest was far less worse in 2019 than 2018. While this is good news, Justin thinks that this pest will still be a problem for producers again in 2020.
We're on the higher end of risk in Nebraska for soybean gall midge. Iowa probably sits next to us in terms of risk and loss this past year. We identified it in Missouri, which was new for 2019. Minnesota saw a number of counties get highlighted, like 11 new counties in Minnesota, but the losses there are quite low and the level of injury that they're seeing is low. And then South Dakota had a very backwards year. They didn't get planted a lot till June. We saw some impacts from planting dates, so we can help kind of inform what happened in that state. They have impact, but it was a hard year for them for other reasons. So we tracked its adult emergence in the spring, which was the first time we've ever done that, so that was pretty key. And then we actually tracked 2 additional generations during the season, so now we know that there's 2 and a partial generation during the season. We got an understanding of time to impact and when we start to find larvae in the field, conducted a bunch of chemical and cultural control studies out there. So I feel like we're getting a handle, but I'm certain growers will still be frustrated this winter on what exactly to do as we come into the next season.
While research is ongoing and no fix-all solution has been pinpointed to this problem, Justin says there are some steps that can be taken in order to reduce the risk of infestation in your crop.
Yeah, if I was a farmer and I had significant impact from soybean gall midge, I would be looking at my operation saying, where did I have significant pressure last year? I would try and plant those fields last in my operation of planting for soybeans. Might want to consider a seed treatment, might want to consider a foliar. That's the level of risk that they're sitting at. The best thing they can do is get a hold of me and get on the alert system for adult monitoring so they know when to apply if they're going to make any management strategies. We have a lot of stuff. If somebody's interested in knowing, especially they're locally here in Nebraska, give me a call or send me an email and I can line them up with some of the projects we're doing on farm as well.
And while we're taking a look at problems producers were faced with in 2019, now is a good time to be thinking about plant disease prevention. We recently caught up with Nebraska Extension plant pathologist Dr. Tamra Jackson-Ziems, as she says a big concern for those who face problems with plant disease is the fact that many of the pathogens that cause these issues will overwinter in the field.
When you look at diseases that people have had in their fields in corn or soybean or almost any crop, most of those are caused by pathogens that overwinter, and so there's always a chance that they're going to see those diseases again. And a lot of that does depend on weather conditions, but they can be prepared for that and use this time right now to select soybean varieties and corn hybrids that are more resistant to those varieties, and that'll help reduce disease severity in the future. And it may help them sometimes even prevent fungicide applications or other pesticides they need to manage it. It may help reduce input costs that way.
Of the many diseases producers may battle in the coming months, Tamra says one of the main diseases Nebraska Extension is keeping a very close eye on is tar spot.
In 2019, we watched very closely as a fungal disease called tar spot moved most of the way across Iowa toward us. And in fact, those last couple of weeks of the season, late September, early October, we watched as it moved seemingly quite rapidly as our neighbors to the east confirmed it. And in fact, it has been confirmed within 1 county of the Missouri River. And it's likely it may even already be here in Nebraska at such a low incidence that we haven't found it yet. And this is a disease, tar spot. It's caused by a fungus that causes very small black dots on the leaves, and those are actually the fungal reproductive structures. That's what we hope people will start looking for in 2020, and I would start looking quite early. This fungus likes cooler temperatures in the 60s and 70s, and so you can even see that develop in seedling corn.
Now, Tamra did make it very clear that extreme cold will more than likely not kill off any pathogens that may be overwintering in your field. However, with the fluctuating temperatures we've experienced, it would be prudent to keep a close eye on stored grains, as these fluctuating temperatures could lead to mold growth. So Troy, we've definitely got plenty to keep our eye on as producers ramp up for their planting season. But for now, I'll send it back to you.